Hello and welcome to another episode of Content Creators Unite, the show where we discuss all things content creation. So if you want to learn how to grow your business using your blog, social media, newsletters, books, and more, hey, you're in the right place. I'm your host, John Clements, and our guest for today's podcast is Adam Constantine. From being a professional basketball player to becoming possibly the world's tallest social media guru, Adam has been a creative pioneer for over a decade. He creates dynamic, unique, inspiring, and humorous digital content that engages audiences, keeps them talking, and builds successful brands. So, Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to hear that. Yes, I think probably on every podcast I do some shameless. If I sold my business the way I talk about my height, I probably would have like way more success on there. But I'm super excited to be here, John. Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it a little bit because I gave just the briefest of introductions, but I want to get to know you just a little bit more than that. So, talk to me about your background. Like, where did you come from? How did you go from being a professional ball player to doing what you do now? What does that journey look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I just love storytelling of all forms. I love making people laugh. I think that's really where it was born from. Um, At the same time, stand-up comedy, the idea of that terrifies me, so definitely never wanted to do something like that where I'm expected to make people laugh, but I love taking people on the emotional journey that is storytelling. And that actually really came to fruition when I was playing professional basketball. So I did play college basketball. I played at Elon University, which is in North Carolina. My claim to fame, which is not even claim to fame, it's more like a witness to greatness, is I played at Elon and was in the same conference as a little known person named Steph Curry was at Davidson.
Oh,
So played against him 7 times. A lot of times people will be like, "Did you win?" I played against him 7 times, so that's where we all
right.
to talk about that. But so played there for 4 years. Then I went overseas. So I lived in 7 different countries: Bulgaria, Sweden, Turkey, Cyprus, Germany, Israel, and Finland. The biggest thing that people don't realize, and I didn't realize, is that I was going to be away from my family and friends, really everybody I had known my entire life, and I missed that connection. So what I decided to do was create a blog. And the blog was called The Pursuit of My Dream. And I would literally use it to connect with people. Social media was the way in which I connected with people. This is how I age myself. When I graduated from college, Instagram still hadn't been invented yet. Which when you tell that to a bunch of Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, the noises that come out of my body are just so insulting. But I told them, I graduated and I would literally write the blog, and then I had a list of 300 people that said they were interested. I would just post it on their walls on Facebook. So I would do that, and I kind of like built a following. And as I continued to grow, I did some video content in the blog back then, or would post it to YouTube. And then Instagram came around, so I started approaching it from a storytelling lens of where I was, what I was doing, and it just kind of naturally turned into that. Now, like my goal was to play until I was 35 years old and retire off into the sunset after a successful career. But one major knee tear later, when I was 26, I was done. Very non-glamorous. And I had to figure something out because one of my old professors had seen and was one of the recipients of the content that I was putting out. She told me about an opening at my old university to be their social media manager. So I applied. I did get the job and found out afterward that I'd written one of the worst cover letters they had ever seen. but, but because I had the track record of storytelling on social before that, they knew I'd be a right fit. And that's how I jumped into the social media journey, was really through the storytelling I did playing professional basketball overseas for 5 years.
Nice. And so then it from there, you've really catapulted your career to now you have an agency, I think that does, basically the social for other companies. I think it's called Ace Creatives. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what services do you offer? Who's your ideal client? Like, what is that business about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we bill ourselves as a storytelling agency, right? Like we are a social first, not social exclusive agency. And really like the creative and the production is what we do that goes hand in hand. Our ideal client is anybody that wants to tell stories on a screen. So that is social media content, that is OTT, right? Streaming commercials, mainstream commercials. And we work with anywhere from Fortune 500 companies to some of the largest YouTubers in the world, to niche clients. Like we started in finance. Literally, the first two clients we had were mortgage clients. And what we said back then was, we can make your uncool content dope, right? Like that was what we did. And that really helped us because since we were able to do that in such an uncool industry with lots of restrictions and regulations, everything that we've been able to spawn into that, whether it's automotive, like NASCAR, outdoors, whether like we've done obviously work with Amazon, we've done work in tech, we've done work well on with web, with medical. It really allows us to expand because our core principles are more toward the audience as opposed to it. So ideal client, we really have a wide range that we work with, but it's really for those that understand that social takes time, and social is a full investment that needs to be taken seriously because your audience takes it seriously. And that's going to take a lot of time and care to do so. But yeah, I've been doing that full time for about this will be our 5th year in September. Um, and we've grown, like we're at around 30 employees right now, continuing to grow, really excited about the future that we have. And it's been a really fun journey so far.
Man, that's awesome. So I wanted to dig into something you mentioned. You said that something to the effect that we take your boring content and make it dope. Which coming from you makes a lot of sense. Coming from a nerd like me, it's not. I can't sell that. So I'm glad you can. But I want to dig into that because not all of us are dope, right? Not all of us, are cool. We didn't all used to be professional basketball players. So I'd like to really talk about that because some of us maybe struggle with our content and our social media, and we don't know. Like we're posting maybe what we think we need to post, but we are clueless, right? So I want to dig into that. So what are some of the traps or like some of the issues that you see that people who are posting for their business like fall into? Like what are these mistakes, like the biggest mistakes that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest, it's funny, you actually kind of alluded to it, and it's counterintuitive to do it the proper way. And it's funny, it's a principle. So speaking of nerd, one of the things that I started doing after basketball is I do jujitsu. And one of the things when you're learning that martial art form, a lot of things are counterintuitive to what your body naturally wants to do. And it's just something that has to be learned. So the first mistake that a lot of people make is posting what they think is going to work. If you're posting what you think, like, then you're already wrong. You have no idea, but your audience does. And your audience, it doesn't matter what it is, there's an audience for it. Like there's one thing like, oh, my audience isn't on that. There is an account where the person on the account takes a piece of bread, puts it down, puts her face in the bread, and pops back up. And that has hundreds of thousands of followers. So there is an audience for every single niche out there. So let's just be very clear on that. So it's about finding your audience and seeing what they like, what they want, and it's different than what they want in your store. So it's like, oh, okay, let me focus on my best sellers. Well, no, I don't care about your best sellers if I don't even know your products, right? Like a lot of times we treat our audiences as if they are already interested in us, right? Like there's a reason why movies can take anywhere from 30 seconds to 10 minutes to really pick up. How many times have we seen a movie and we're like, whew, this is slow. And then at the 50-minute mark, we're like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And that build was worth it. Well, that's because you have already decided to watch a 2-hour movie. So you made that choice to invest in it. Your audience doesn't know you. So you have what, instead of 30 seconds to 10 minutes or 50 minutes, you have 3 seconds, which means that your content has to look like something they would want to watch, whether they know you or not. So it's really knowing, like the first mistake that people make is like, all right, let me post what I want them to know. It is what are they consuming, and how can your content mirror that without losing your brand's integrity?
Okay, so that's interesting. So let's take an example. So I mean, let's just assume, right? Like we're watching a basketball game together, you and me, drinking a beer, just having a good time. And like, dude, man, I don't know. I keep posting stuff what I think people want to hear, and it's just not working. I'm not getting any traction. And I don't know, let's just say that I'll just take a random example. Let's say that I offer plumbing services. So I would say, Adam, man, like what am I doing wrong? Like what would you tell me?
Yeah, the first thing you want to do is, okay, what where is your business? So it's plumbing. This is going to be a very so this is geo target. So it's going to be very specific on where it is. So, like let's just say it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, great. So we know that your audience, we want them to be people in Charlotte. We know that they are probably going to be homeowners because most apartments have a maintenance person, so they don't necessarily need to call plumbing. So, okay, my first thing is, what are Charlotte homeowners looking at doing, talking about on social? Um, well, let's say we go look. Obviously, something I know because I do it. Let's say we go look and we see, oh, DIY is big on social for the homeowner demographic, right? So I'm going to look, okay, what are some of the most popular posts that are happening? How to get your home ready for the winter. Great. Well, can you do that with pipes? Can you do that with plumbing? Can you talk about anything preventative that's on there? The biggest thing on social is adding value. And a lot of times we hear that value as a buzzword, but adding value can be anything from humor to education. And I think a blend of both for a Charlotte plumbing business makes sense. So the first thing, education. I think that's an easy one. And it is giving content away that really actually has nothing, like if people do it, they won't need your business for what you're telling them, right? You are just giving them value for free. What that does is it creates a need into where they are going to continue to follow you for the information you're putting out. And then when they have a question, they're going to ask you, and boom, not only is that a lead, that's it's like a reverse lead, right? Like you are their lead to get the answers done. Like you're talking about preventing pipe bursts, and then someone, oh, I wish I had known this last winter. My pipe burst because of X, Y, and Z, and now I still have a leaky X, Y, and Z. Can you help with that? Yep, I sure can. And then boom, you have that lead, right? It's because you provided value. Also, there's lots of things that happen in homes that are humorous, right? I'm just thinking right now, when it comes to plumbing, there are leaky pipes, right? Squeaky pipes making noises. So I mean, you can do a humor series, right? Like ghost or leaky pipes, and you're playing audio, like, or you're going through those types, like plumbing during the day versus plumbing at night, like what it's like to go under a crawl space. All of these types of things, but make it entertaining. And also look and see find the most successful plumbing accounts that you can find that have a geographical focus. So like if there's a nationwide chain, I wouldn't really focus on that because that's not really gonna be super applicable. But find someone in Syracuse, New York, right? Like, oh wow, this one has 20,000. See what they're doing and then steal it. Don't actually take their content, but like look at their strategy, look at their ideas, and employ that in there when it goes through there. Now, by now you're like, okay, Adam, like the game is back on. I just asked like one quick question, so I'll stop talking here now, right? But that's how I would really approach that in order to get that process started.
Yeah, so I have a follow-up question with that too, because actually, first of all, just me personally, I agree with everything you're saying because I try to do the same thing, really, like honestly. Um, But one thing that I've noticed is when you take a value-based approach, which again aligns with my values, that's what I want to do anyway. But that to me is the long game. So, like, what do you think about the timing of like how long does it take really if you take that approach to start seeing results?
Absolutely. It's funny. That's my second thing when I talk about mistakes on social media. It's expecting instant results. Like it would be like us watching the same game and you turning to me and being like, gosh, I don't know how LeBron does it. I did a basketball camp for a summer when I was in sixth grade, and I was nowhere near in the NBA level. I'd be like, yeah, obviously. Number one, LeBron James is an anomaly, right? So, like the social media equivalent um, is Mr. Beast,
Mm,
right? Which
yeah.
shameless plug, all of our clients. But like they're anomalies. So if that's your level of success, then you're already setting yourself up for failure, right? Number two, in the same way that it's built your business, in the same way that the podcast that we're on we're building, like it takes time, right? Like, I mean, back in the day, there was a full job for door knocking. You don't knock on two doors and then say, "Oh, you're done." I give this talk to real estate agents all the time. And I'll talk, and I mean, almost 10 out of 10, but 9 times out of 10, the ones that are the most resistant to saying social media does not work. I tried it and it doesn't work. I say, how do you get your business? All of them say the majority of my business is referral. I'm like, great. How did you get there? You had to build it, right? Like you had to continue to put stuff out. There were your first years where you got nothing. And then in year two, you got somebody say something that you talked to in year one. And now in year 12, you get people from year five, year nine, year seven, year two is getting your second one with you. It takes time and the slow build for momentum. So it's about one, being patient, and two, continuing to figure out what the audience wants and tailor your content to that. What will happen is we will do that once and we will create the content based on what the audience wants and it gets successful. And then we stay there because we're like, yep, we know it. As opposed to coming into it and being like, okay, this is what the audience wanted this month. What do they want next month? It's a constant reinvention because the audience is always changing on that. And that can be frustrating. So all of it takes time and intention. But once you really refocus it to the same way that you're focusing on your business or the same way that you're focusing on your job, it puts it into perspective a little bit. And look, it also means that you're not always going to get to Mr. Beast level. I am the same height and the same weight as LeBron James. The biggest difference is the height and weight of our bank accounts. Okay, because he was able to go a lot further than I was, but it doesn't mean what I've done isn't successful, right? Like I put in the top, I put in the work, and I was able to capitalize on that for 5 years into an experience that is successful. So the top isn't success either of looking for millions of followers or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. You can run a 3,000 person account that's getting you 5 leads a year. And if it's something as perennial as plumbing, those are lifetime connections. That's worth more than a million follower account when it moves through. So that patience and intention and care is huge for that.
Yeah, so actually I want to talk about specifically because we keep talking about success. And you're right, it is a long game if you want to do it in a sustainable way, in a way that gives value to people. So then for any individual piece of content you throw up there, whether it's a social media post, a blog post, a newsletter, email, for you, like what does success look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. One, holistically, so tactically, let's just before I give the flowery answer that people roll their eyes at. Tactically, the success that I care about are saves and shares. Those are the most active metrics that we can find as successful because, and that's the phrase that I say. Can I create content that is relatable to the audience to the point of engagement? Anybody can scroll. right? But is there something that you see that is so like relatable that I'm like, oh, I have to share this with John, right? Like if I were to see, like a LeBron James edit or whatever, and it started with somebody in that, I would share with you because we talked about that. It was a shared experience, like whatever, right? So like that's something that I was able to share. So tactically, that's what success looks like. To me, it's what we kind of run our business on. Obviously, KPIs will change from client to client, blah, 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 blah. It is it is saves and shares because those are the most active metrics you can get. Comments as well, like comments are great. But having those seem to correlate more to real life.
Okay, I really appreciate you breaking that down. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
saves and shares, like that's something my brain can remember, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that, holistically, it's am I continuing to learn from the
Mm,
content that I'm putting
yeah.
out? Right? If I can look at a 6 month span and say, okay, I tried this, it didn't work, and then I tweaked this, and I tried this, and it didn't work, and then I tweaked this, and I tried this. That's still success because you are rooting out what doesn't work. It just may be time for you to talk to somebody, to get a consult, to get an audit, to get a strategy written for you, to write it out there, to maybe move to a different platform, those types of conversations as well. But I always like to give that tactical answer that works for us.
Yeah, I love that. So speaking of content, we've kind of drilled down on social media in particular with this discussion. But even within that, when you're doing marketing for your clients, for example, are you factoring in like SEO to the discussion, or are you really more working on that organic reach, or is it kind of a combination?
Yeah, great question. It's a combination, especially the way TikTok does it. Like TikTok is the most SEO dialed algorithm there is. I think the stat is 40% of Gen Z uses TikTok as their primary search engine, right? So social and SEO have to go hand in hand. Um, as we're creating content on YouTube, SEO is huge because people are literally going on there to search. So yes, this goes back to your audience behavior. If you are creating content, what is somebody going to be searching for to find that content? Right? Is it how to prep your home for the winter? Because sometimes we get too niche, right? How to clean your pipes and make sure that no, 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 I'm not looking for that because I don't know that. What I do want to do is prep my home for the winter, right? So, three things you may be forgetting as winter approaches. Oh, I don't want to forget anything. So let me look at this, right? And that's where you talk through. Hashtags are not as strong on like the meta owned properties as far as the searchability of them. At one point they really were used and they kind of got abused by bots. So they dialed down the relatability of hashtags. I'm still a proponent of 3 to 5 of those, but creating your content in such a way, especially with how like people are looking at AI. I know it's a little bit of a tangent. People are looking at AI as a front facing tool. They're not realizing how it's going to be used on the back end. Even your voice can be pulled for SEO relevance as we move forward, right? If I'm saying how to prep your home for winter and that's what you've typed, those are going to start to be the things that an AI algorithm is going to start pulling and being able to show. So you want to write your scripts in a way that has that SEO focus, and really, people are like, oh, well, what is SEO? Is sit in the mind of your audience, of your target audience, and ask them, okay, what is it that they are going to type in, write in, ask a friend, ask somebody, and make sure that that is in your content in a seamless way. Storytelling first, but that's absolutely how we approach SEO on all of our content, is writing it from the lens of how the audience is going to be searching for this content.
Yeah, I love that. So the more and more on this show, for example, that I talk to experts about SEO, that's what they all say. That's what you've said is don't try to game the system, don't write to the algorithm, just write content that people want to engage with. Like that's how you do SEO, really.
Yes, exactly. And that's like once you've mastered that, then you can start tweaking your title or your thumbnail. But people get caught up so much on the tactical, they lose the heart of what they're supposed to do. Like I liken it to if you tell someone to clean their room and they do it versus if you tell someone to clean their room and they're like, how? And then you have to list out every single thing they do. Like, well, yes, this person is still cleaning their room if they're checking all the boxes, but that person that understands cleaning a room means not only making my bed, changing the sheets, putting new sheets on there, making the bed, sweeping the floor, like for that final result. Sometimes people get too tactical and too, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Oh, well, I did all that and it didn't work. It's like, well, yeah, if you had looked at it, you would have known that you don't say this. You say that even though that's what it says to do. So like that storytelling and creating content people want is so important.
I agree. Yeah. And I think we've all been on the blog posts where it's like, okay, you just want clicks with this. So I'm out of here. You know?
Yes. Yes, exactly. That first time it's like, we will now be looking at the top 10 gadgets for cleaning your. I'm like, okay, oh,
Yeah, I'm out.
I know what this
Yeah.
is. Yeah, affiliate link over here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I want to, we're coming up to the end. I want to switch gears a little bit because I mean, I could talk about this all day. I love this subject, but really, as equally important to me is getting to know you a little bit better because you're a person, you're more important than just your business. So I'm going to assume that you have good boundaries in place in your work and personal life. We'll just make that assumption. So
Bold
when you're
assumption. Go on.
it is bold. Feeling lucky today. So when you're not working, what do you like to do?
Yeah. So I still love working out. Which first, this is gonna all sound so bro to start. But I do love working out. I do jujitsu as well. It's something that I can learn. I can still compete in. I can still suck at and get better with. Um, and then like I love watching movies. Oh, let me not. I'm a huge anime nerd, like just uncomfortably huge anime nerd. When it comes to that, and then traveling with my fiance. Like we love traveling, whether it's for a work event, and then we'll tack on a couple days, or like something completely different there. Those are the things that I love doing, and then playing with our dog. That's really all the things in a nutshell that I love doing.
That's awesome. My son, he's 16. He's just recently gotten into anime. I know nothing about it, but I support him in his endeavors. And I'm going to tell him that you're into it because he's had some of his friends kind of give him a hard time. Like, you know what? My buddy Adam's 6'8", used to play pro ball. He's into anime, so
Look, we are in the golden age of anime right now. If he hasn't watched old school one, Naruto is a classic. Hunter x Hunter is a classic. If you want something new school, if he's not watching Solo Leveling, well, first of all, make sure that these are all okay for him to watch. I don't want to be like Adam was a bad influence. Wait, hold on. If he's not watching Solo Leveling, he should do that. Kaiju number 8 is another new gen anime that is fantastic. And then Frieren is probably one of the best animes of last year. So yeah, I can deep it. Whatever I deep dive in social, I can also deep dive in anime. So he needs any connects or anything, I'm the guy to talk to.
all right. I'll let him know all. I'll show him this part of the clip and see. He'll probably know all of them.
He's probably also going to be like, yeah, Dad, those are the most obvious choices. I do have deeper cuts. Don't worry. I just didn't know where you were in your anime journey. So don't just judge me as like a mainstream animator. Okay. I promise.
All right, cool. I will no judgment. So this kind of ties in with the next question is that was a great bit of life advice for anime fans. For those of us who aren't anime fans yet, what's a piece of wisdom or a life lesson you've learned in your journey that you could just share with people?
Yeah. I'll kind of fumble around a couple. I often have this. The first one is what has been at my core, which my father instilled in me when I was younger, which is no matter what you leave, whether it's a job, whether it's a project, they should need you more than you need them. And you do that through your work ethic, through your communication, through your candor, through being on time. They should always need you more than you need them. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned when it comes to business. So I do have my own business. There are no excuses. There are only reasons. So there's no excuse why your business failed. There are just reasons why your business failed. There's no excuses why your clients didn't sign up some there are reasons. Like you have the full accountability and responsibility. And then the third part of it that I have is I heard so Teddy Atlas was giving a boxer um, a hype speech, and the boxer's father had passed, and my father passed a few days ago, and he said when you achieve success, people are going to be looking at you, and when they're looking at you, they're going to be thinking about his father. And I love that part because I hope to think that everyone that sees what I do or thinks that I have done a good job, the first thing they think is he was raised by a great man because I was. And I always want that to be unknown by everyone.
Yeah, no, I'm fortunate enough to have an amazing father as well, and so yeah, if I'm half as good as he is, I will consider that a roaring success.
Yep. The goal is to be second best dad, second best dad ever, and I'll be happy.
Exactly. All right, Adam. So let's. I'm going to assume that the people who are listening here, at least some of them, are going to say, I like what he is talking about. I like this idea of Ace Creatives. How do I find out more about him? How do I get in contact with him?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is acecreatives.co. So that is acecreatives.co. It was just a lot cheaper when I was first starting out than the .com. On Instagram, it's Ace Creatives on Facebook, Ace Creatives on LinkedIn. On Instagram, it is hashtag Ace Creatives. So it's not the actual hashtag. Spell out the word hashtag, spell out the word Ace, spell out the word creatives. And then you can find me on Instagram at They Call Me AC or LinkedIn, Adam Constantine. I'm on all of those fairly frequently to the point where, like trying to cut down, but find that balance we were talking about. But yeah, you can find me on any of those places there.
All right, great. And we'll have links to all that in the show notes, so you don't have to go far. You just look below you, and they'll be right there. So, Adam, again, it's just been a pleasure. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Really great conversation. Good luck to you.
Yeah. And for the listeners out there, if you enjoyed our discussion today, which I hope you did, I know I did, be sure to, if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I bring on the best people I can find to just share in their expertise so you get to benefit and so you can become better as well. And with that, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Content Creators Unite podcast.